Hello there, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this Telecoms.com intelligence webinar, produced in association with AsiaInfo. This webinar today will focus on omni-channel customer relationship management for the telecom sector. Customer relationship management is CRM for short. My name is Tim Skinner, and I'm the content manager for Telecoms.com intelligence. Andy Tiller, who is the VP of Corporate Product Marketing at AsiaInfo, is joining me for today's webinar. And Andy joined AsiaInfo in 2012 as part of the firm's move towards a global product marketing function, which was based out of their European HQ in Cambridge. Before joining AsiaInfo, Andy was the Senior Vice President of Product Marketing and Strategy for IP Access, where he was responsible for the creation of a product roadmap, as well as the marketing strategy and communications for the brand. He was also a board member and director of the Small Cell Forum, and prior to that, he was the CTO and VP of Product Marketing for Shozu, which is a mobile service for video and user-generated content sharing. During his presentation today, Andy will be touching on a few key points around omnichannel CRM, namely looking at what it actually is, how it looks, how it works, as well as looking at what the quantifiable business case is for it, and what the technical considerations and challenges are for telcos who are looking at omnichannel. After today's presentation, Andy will be available and staying online for a written Q&A session. So should you have any questions for Andy, you are able to submit them at any time using the dialog box on this page. All you have to do is type in your question, and Andy's answer will appear as text during the session. So I'm now going to hand over to Andy for his presentation. But Andy, first of all, welcome and thank you for taking the time to host today's webinar. Could you begin just by quickly giving us some sort of background information on what omnichannel CRM is and what it looks like?
Sure, thank you, Tim. Yeah, so in today's webinar, I'll be examining the business case for deploying an omnichannel strategy, specifically for telecom operators. And also, I'll be looking at the challenges involved in creating an omnichannel enterprise architecture and how those challenges can be overcome. So first of all, I'm going to clarify what I mean by omnichannel and its logical extension, which I'm going to call any channel. Next, I'll explore a partial business case which has been developed by Northstream Research, commissioned by AsiaInfo. And then finally, I'll explain why omnichannel is much harder in telecoms than in other vertical industries, such as retail, and why it affects the whole enterprise IT architecture, and then how omnichannel can be implemented successfully. So first of all, what do I mean by omnichannel, and what comes next? Omnichannel fundamentally means two things. The first is what's commonly called the customer 360 view, so that a customer service agent in the call center and the retail store and maybe other channels can access exactly the same customer data and interaction history from all channels. So, for example, an agent in the retail store can access the customer's recent dialogue on Twitter with an agent in the customer service center. Of course, the customer themselves can also access this same interaction history through self-care channels such as the website or a smartphone app, obviously minus any private notes which have been exchanged between agents. The second key requirement is what's called channel switching. So, for example, a customer can add items to their shopping cart on the web shop and then go to a retail store and continue there with an agent where they left off instead of having to start the transaction over again. So those are the two basic requirements, but omnichannel can potentially provide more advanced capabilities. For example, if a customer likes an iPhone 6 promotion on Facebook, then that can influence the personalized offers they receive in other channels, such as when they log in to the operator's website. Impersonation is another desirable feature where an agent can see the end customer's self-care environment on the web and can act on the customer's behalf. For example, they could find a product requested by the customer and add it to the customer's shopping cart for the customer to review and purchase later. So what's beyond omnichannel? Well, omnichannel is often used to mean the integration of traditional channels, call center, retail store, website, and perhaps a self-care app. But in future, it's clear that social apps will also need to be fully integrated. Already we're seeing that advanced social apps such as WeChat, Chinese equivalent of WhatsApp, are providing, not just communication between the customer and the operator, but also they're providing a platform for authentication of the customer's ID, for personalized promotions, and also for payments. So the WeChat app on a smartphone can become a full self-service channel for the customer to top up their phone, to buy a bolt-on data package, for example, to interact with the call center agent and receive personalized offers. And all these interactions must be included in the customer 360 view. Furthermore, the omnichannel system has to allow the customer to have multiple IDs. The regular Telecoms account ID needs to be linked to their Facebook, Twitter, WeChat, and other social IDs. And the omnichannel or any channel solution needs to have the ability to merge customer records when two separate IDs are discovered to be the same person. So at that point, you need to merge the interaction history, any items in the shopping cart, in the two different personas of the customer, and so on. So, what about the business case then?
So it seems clear that omnichannel is quite compelling from a customer relationship and experience perspective. But what's the business case for it? What are the financial benefits that operators can expect?
In one sense, the benefits of omnichannel are somewhat obvious, and that explains why it's such a hot topic at the moment across a lot of industries, not just telecoms. But, of course, there's a cost involved in implementing omnichannel, and so the plus side of the business case also needs to be examined quantitatively. So AsiaInfo commissioned Northstream research to look into this recently. There are two aspects to the plus side of any business case. So there's the potential for increased revenues and the potential for reducing costs. So Northstream actually looked at the cost-saving side of this in detail, specifically the OPEX savings, which can be achieved through omnichannel. And they looked at that for the Western European mobile operator market. In order to do this, they conducted primary research, including interviews with experts in other vertical markets as well as in telecoms. And they discovered that omnichannel is seen as vital by most industries and certainly by most telecom operators. However, they discovered that implementations are currently quite immature, legacy IT being a significant challenge to overcome. The quantitative analysis which Northstream did reveals potential OPEX savings of up to $4.6 billion annually for Western European mobile operators. Of course, the impact of omnichannel can vary greatly amongst different operators depending upon many factors, in particular how flexible the operator's IT architecture and infrastructure are today, but the potential aggregated industry savings appear to be quite significant according to Northstream's findings. So Northstream began with a typical breakdown of the total OPEX costs for a typical European mobile operator, which can be seen on the left. So, for example, 34% of OPEX, or about $33 billion annually in Western Europe, is spent on marketing and sales by mobile operators. Next, Northstream identified 4 potential benefits of omnichannel, seen on the right, and they examined how these benefits could lead to cost savings in each of the defined OPEX categories. The main OPEX categories which are impacted by omnichannel are marketing and sales, customer service, support overhead, and IT costs. So Northstream undertook a detailed analysis of each of those areas and developed a quantitative estimation of the OPEX saving benefits of omnichannel. They then validated the results through a series of interviews with relevant experts from the telecoms operator community, and they contrasted and compared with other industries, notably retail and finance. So the potential savings that they discovered added up to between 1.8% and 4.6% of total OPEX, 4.8% of total OPEX, which aggregated across the whole of Western European mobile market equates to between $1.7 billion and $4.6 billion in annual savings. So let's have a look at some more of the details now. The first benefit that Northstream looked at was the potential to improve customer experience, leading to greater customer loyalty and enhanced Net Promoter Score. So many operators use Net Promoter Score as a measure of customer satisfaction, and an improvement in Net Promoter Score correlates positively with a reduction in subscriber retention costs. So that's one potential saving there. But an additional benefit with Omni-channel is that more of the customer renewals take place in the operator's preferred channels, and that leads to lower dealer expenses and commission costs. So the net result of this first benefit is up to 3% savings in marketing and sales OPEX, which equates to almost $1 billion annually for Western European mobile operators. The second benefit, which Northstream examined, is greater efficiency in campaigns and service launches across multiple channels. Here there's a potential big saving in IT costs. For example, the business logic associated with the new service or campaign can be implemented just once instead of having to do that separately for each channel. There's also a saving in the marketing and sales costs, as the service launches and campaigns can be designed once for all channels, again, instead of separately for each channel. So the net result of Omni-channel for this particular benefit is up to 3.2% savings in IT OPEX and up to 1.6% savings in marketing and sales OPEX. So that equates to almost $700 million annually for Western European mobile operators. The third omni-channel benefit is the potential to offload work from the call center and other customer support channels. Firstly, a single customer view improves first call resolution times because the agent has full access to the customer's context from all previous channel interactions. They don't need to ask so many questions. They can normally solve the customer's issue more quickly. Omnichannel's ability to support channel switching during a transaction or dialogue also makes handling support requests more efficient. So agents no longer need to start again at the beginning of the conversation. They can just carry on from the point at which the customer had reached in the previous channel. So that also saves time. And the net result is up to 18% saving in customer care OPEX costs, which equates to over $1.3 billion annually for Western European mobile operators. The final benefit considered by Northstream is the ability to streamline and automate back-office functions. So this was partly covered in Benefit 2, where we specifically looked at streamlining of service launches and campaigns. But having a single set of business logic and rules for all channels has wider benefits throughout the organization, including, for example, better automation of order handling, provisioning, customer support, KPI reporting, and so on. So Omnichannel leads, in this case, to potential savings in network, IT, and support overhead OPEX, totaling up to $1.6 billion annually for Western European mobile operators. For further details, please go ahead and visit the AsiaInfo website, where you can download a white paper and other resources which give the full context and full details of Northstream's research.
So, Andy, retail in particular is one of the industry verticals which seems to have gotten omni-channel strategies pretty much right. What are the differences between retail and telecoms in that regard? And why is the telecoms industry seemingly playing catch-up with other verticals when it comes to omnichannel?
Essentially, omnichannel is more challenging for telcos than for other industries, essentially because telco products and services are more complex, requiring more sophisticated business processes for order management, provisioning, and support. So this slide shows a comparison of telecoms omnichannel with retail omnichannel requirements. And you can see immediately that telecoms has more channels to integrate. They have more complex products and services, more complex order capture processes, and especially order fulfillment. More payment options, including pre- and post-pay phone bills, and also more complex support requirements for the product over the period of the contract. So all this makes omnichannel much more challenging to deploy technically for telecoms than it is for retail. But it also provides potentially greater benefits too. The ability for telcos to build a long-lasting customer relationship and to generate sophisticated customer insights from big data analytics makes omnichannel even more interesting for telecoms than for retail or finance or other vertical industries, I think.
Okay, so with that in mind, what are the consequences of the additional challenges then for telecoms in terms of its IT requirements for omnichannel?
Right. So there are two basic approaches to implementing omnichannel for telcos. Either add-ons and modifications to the existing IT architecture or re-architecting from the ground up. Many operators today have a multi-channel enterprise architecture where different channels have different business processes, they have different business logic and different data even sometimes, customer data and product data in particular. So this means that agents in each channel have a different customer view and that channel switching is not possible. So this is multi-channel as opposed to omni-channel. And a lot of operators are in this position today. Now, in order to solve this, many operators are implementing overlay solutions. So it's possible to improve the customer experience by, for example, adding an omnichannel commerce platform, and that improves the customer's shopping experience, which can support a cross-channel shopping experience. So usually the digital channels are integrated. So the omnichannel commerce platform provides a product catalog or a copy of the product catalog, a shopping cart which persists across all the digital channels, order orchestration for the capture and fulfillment of the order, admin tools to manage the digital web shop and so on, payments and logistics integration. So in this case, the omnichannel platform provides a true omnichannel experience as long as you're in the channels which are supported. And operators can sometimes integrate some of their existing channels, perhaps the retail stores, into that environment. So on the other hand, it's sometimes challenging to integrate some of the existing legacy IT channels. So, for instance, integrating the call center CRM system might be difficult, often is difficult, which prevents call center agents from using their existing systems to support the customer's shopping experience. For instance, if the customer has questions or wants advice, wants to add products to their shopping cart, the agent in the call center can't do that directly in the legacy system. They have to use a separate system perhaps to do that. By contrast, building a new omnichannel enterprise architecture is more challenging technically, but equally it provides a more powerful and future-proof solution. The key challenge is to create a clean separation between the front end and the back end layers, and so that all front end channels can access the same business logic, business rules, and data. All of that business process logic and the customer and product data needs to be removed from the front-end channels and moved to the back end so that it can be accessed by all channels. This is obviously essential to enabling a customer 360 view, so the data is visible to all channels, but it's also essential to enable channel switching. For example, if a customer reaches step 3 of an order capture process or a trouble ticket process in one channel, then they must be able to carry on from step 4 in another channel. And that means that the business process logic must be common to all channels. That can't be different in each channel, or you couldn't switch from one channel to another in the middle of a process. So omnichannel architecture supports the customer 360 view and channel switching, the two key requirements. And the extension to any channel is therefore logical. What's required is that the business processes and back-end services and data are accessible through open APIs, and then the powerful platform capabilities of social apps such as Facebook, Twitter, WeChat, and so on can be used directly to support the operator's business. So these new channels can be plugged into the same business logic, the same services and data that's being used by the existing channels. So with this architecture, we can see, in contrast to our earlier slides showing the omni-channel commerce overlay, the any-channel commerce architecture looks like this. The single product catalog is accessible to all channels, so that allows, for instance, a customer could perhaps buy a bolt-on data package through a social app like WeChat. The product is available, the business process is available to that channel as well. And the order process is the same for all channels, and the shopping cart persists across all the channels. So the customer can channel switch during a shopping transaction, and agents in any channel can help the customer out directly. So in summary, we've discovered that operators already consider omnichannel to be vital to customer experience, and in particular to improving Net Promoter Score. And this leads to a compelling business case based on OPEX savings alone. Likely there's actually more upside to the business case from the potential to increase sales through more efficient order management and selling. But Northstream examined the OPEX savings business case, and that was quite significant in its own right. We also discovered through the research that omnichannel for telecoms is not just complex, it's actually relatively immature in implementations today. Most operators are executing some kind of omnichannel strategy, but many explained that their existing legacy IT architecture is quite a significant barrier to being able to implement the strategy they want. So some operators have chosen to implement an omnichannel strategy through an overlay approach, which can improve the customer experience relatively quickly, but may fail to integrate some of the new digital channels with the core business and the traditional channels. Re-architecting is the other approach, building a new enterprise architecture for omnichannel from the ground up. In one sense, it's the right way to do it, but of course it's more costly and risky. On the other hand, it does provide much more powerful, future-proof architecture which can extend to any channel, not just the existing channels. So, thank you very much indeed for listening. I'd be happy to hand back to Tim now and take any questions. Thanks very much indeed.
Well, Andy, thank you very much indeed for that presentation. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, we have some time for Q&A. To submit a question, just type into the comments box on this page, and Andy's answers will appear as text in the comment stream. Once again, there is no audio element to the Q&A. And so it just remains for me to thank Andy and AsiaInfo for making today's Telecoms.com webinar possible, and to thank everyone, of course, who joined us for the presentation. I do hope you found it useful, and please look out for upcoming webinars that will explore other key topics affecting the telecoms industry today. See you again next time. Bye-bye.